welcome to Hi Montreal, and on this section of Hi Montreal, I'd like to welcome Alison Silkoff, and she is Alison Silkoff and Associates. We called her an event planner, but you actually call yourself an event producer.
That's right, because I produce the entire event. First comes the planning of the event, and then comes the execution of the event. So it is a production, quite a major one often.
You studied law at Cambridge. You're originally from England.
Right.
You worked in the banking world. How did you find yourself, how did it evolve into planning events for different parts of the community?
Well, when I worked for Bank of Montreal, I was actually in charge of running their sponsorship program, which involved many events around the world, mostly in Europe, across North America and Canada. Every time the bank would sponsor an event, I would organize that event. It could be the Montreal Symphony on tour, or a horse show in Calgary, many different kinds of events. And when the bank moved to Toronto, the whole department moved, I started in my own as an event planner.
So you had a little taste of it in the beginning and you thought that would be fun to go into.
Exactly, and it is a growing market. There's no question that companies are spending more of their budget on events rather than straight media advertising, and getting a lot of return for that.
When you started off, because you started your business in the 80s, I understand.
Yes.
Was this something new to Montreal?
No, there had always been events in Montreal. People have always had parties, celebrations of many kinds, and companies have always had occasions, openings of new branches, launches of new products, Christmas parties, other events. Companies have always had events and needed people to organize them.
But was it usually done in company, I mean in the business? Was it usually somebody who was in the business as opposed to parachuting in somebody else?
Sometimes, yes. More often in the past. I think now companies are starting to realize that their expertise is in running their business and not necessarily in organizing an event, and it's often more cost-effective for them to hire an expert from the outside to do that, just for that one project, not someone who's on their staff.
Because you would be pulling somebody away from another job to plan the event, as opposed to you're an expert in it, you come in, you just find out all the information, and then begins the process.
Exactly, and it saves them a lot of time because I already know the top suppliers for lighting, for catering, for decor, for all the different aspects of putting on an event, and they would probably have to spend time researching that.
Were you, in the 80s, were you one of the first women to run your own business? Whether it's rather a large, it entails a lot of detail, it entails a lot of work. Were you one of the first women to open the trail?
I don't really know in Montreal whether I was the first or not. I can't think of another one. But it is a business that women are definitely very good at. I think women have an eye for detail. They are very organized as a whole. They do manage to see the trees as well as the wood, perhaps more than men. I mean, there are a lot of details to take care of, as well as keeping your eye on the final result.
Is that where your law degree also comes in? Because with law, you have to hand in your information on time, your documents on time. You have to be there for the judge. You know, there's no extension. You know.
I think law involves organizing a lot of detail into a logical thought process and coming up with a conclusion, keeping track of numerous details and sorting out what has priorities, what is really relevant. And events are very similar to that.
Your largest event is the Daffodil Ball by the Canadian Cancer Society.
Yes, that's right.
How long does it take you to organize all of that?
That's almost like giving birth. That's a 9-month process. It's virtually the whole year from planning to the end result. It's a huge event because I do the fundraising side of it as well as organizing the event.
And it is the largest fundraiser for cancer, I think, in all of Canada.
It is. We raised $1.5 million net after all expenses this year, which is far bigger than any other fundraising gala in Montreal and bigger than any cancer event across the country.
Is there a theme to, when you do your, for example, we use the ball as an example, is there a theme to it?
Well, the theme is definitely daffodils because that is the symbol of the Canadian Cancer Society, but we use them in a different way each year. For example, last year we had an impressionist garden and we did everything like Monet's garden in Giverny with pinks and mauves as well as the daffodil yellow. And we had Monet's bridge and the water lilies. And this year our theme was white, and we brought in white daffodils from Scotland, and we asked everyone to dress in black or white, and the decor was thousands of white lights. So yes, each year it changes its theme.
So it's actually quite creative. You have the business side, which is, I guess, tachlis is the, where you have to sit down and do the numbers and make sure you call people. But I would say that event planning or producing an event is also, you will have a creative side.
Oh, definitely. I mean, you want to produce a product that your client is happy with and wants to associate himself with, because that reflects on his business or his personal life. So you have to be creative, and you have to do something that's different from everybody else. And there's no point in spending however much an event costs to do the same old chicken dinner that everybody else, any hotel, could turn out. You want to make something that looks different, tastes different, and people remember.
You have an email and a phone number, because there must be at least 13 people out there who need an event. Do you have an email and a phone number?
Yes, I do. My phone number's 514-932-7517. My email address is Alison, with one L, at alisonsilkoff.com.
What other kinds of events? We talked about the Daffodil Ball, but what other events do you produce during the year?
Numerous events for banks. Could be conferences, seminars, dinners. I did a cruise a couple of years ago for the Young Presidents Association, which was a Baltic cruise for 1,000 people, and they wanted non-stop entertainment for 6 days and nights. Didn't sleep for a week. New product launches, building openings, sometimes weddings and bar mitzvahs.
You did quite a high profile. We were talking before, and you said you did a Burke's wedding.
Yes, I've done a couple of weddings for the Burke's family, and for an American family in Lake Placid who brought everything down from Montreal because it's fairly close, and we did a big affair by the lake.
I want to know, obviously from your accent, you're from England. Is there a difference in dealing with people? Let's say you also often deal with Europeans, you mentioned, with Canadians, with the Americans. Is there a different way of treating each different group because of the upbringing?
Well, I think everybody has their own style, and if you like, a European style is maybe a little less brash, if you like, than the North American way. They have maybe more a subtle approach to things, but each client's different, and the trick is to do what the client wants. But Europeans love doing the events in North America because it is so different for them.
I'd like to thank you so much. We've run out of time. Thank you very much, Alison. I've been talking to Alison Silkoff of Alison Silkoff and Associates, an event planner. Thank you very much for coming on Hi Montreal.
It's a pleasure.
And we'll be back in just a moment.